Hey everybody, it's Natalie Alicia Goldberg with the Gold Standard, and I'm here with my friend JJ Ramberg. Hey JJ,
Hi, Natalie. Good to see you.
great to see you. So let me tell you guys a little bit about this amazing woman. JJ Ramberg is the co-founder of Goodpods, the new podcast-centric social app where you can follow friends and influencers, including some of our besties, Gwyneth, Kim Kardashian West, Malcolm Gladwell, and others, to see what shows and specific episodes they're listening to. JJ, let's just all get together for coffee next week, like in old times. Before launching Good Pods, JJ was the anchor of the MSNBC program Your Business for more than a decade and founded Good Shop, the socially conscious coupon company. She's also the author of two books, It's Your Business, and the children's book, The Startup Club. JJ's been honored for her work by organizations including the American Women's Business Association, Self Magazine, and the Association of Women Entrepreneurs. JJ, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Those were all in the days when we could go outside and leave our houses and see people.
I know. It's kind of crazy that this our whole world has shifted, and I realized, holy moly, I spent all my money on coffees, dinners out, manis, pedis, and massages, and my hair done, all of which none of is happening. So
Yeah. By the way, your hair still looks fantastic. You don't need to go get your hair done. You're good
thank
at it
you.
yourself.
I'm a brave soul, JJ, and I need to do it again. But I let my husband actually get me blonde, and that was a scary endeavor. But we got there.
I had my 10-year-old daughter make my hair red during the quarantine.
I love it. It looks great. You know what? It's truly empowering people to be able to find their other skills that otherwise they would not have known about.
Exactly.
So JJ, Good Pods. I mean, recently Kim Kardashian West put this out in the world. Good Pods is getting such accolades, such acclaim. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, thank you. We're excited about it. We've been working really hard. It is exactly what you said. It's an app where you can follow your friends and influencers to see podcast shows and specific episodes they're listening to. So basically, it's solving the problem that I always had, which I'd be ready to go out for a run and I'd grab my phone and I'd have, let's just say, an hour to go running, and I would spend literally half of that hour scrolling through trying to figure out what podcast to listen to while I was running. And so I'd call my brother, or I'd go look through my text to try and find that one where my friend recommended a podcast to me. And my brother, who's my co-founder, and I just thought, why isn't there something more efficient? Basically, if you know Goodreads for podcasts, or Instagram for podcasts, where I can just scroll through and see, oh, Natalie listened to this and she loves it, or Chad listens to this and he loves it, and I press play.
I love that. And when did you guys launch, JJ?
Oh, well, we launched to the public in March, which was, as you can imagine, very strange timing, right as we all got into quarantine. We had all these plans for a big launch, which we didn't do for all the obvious reasons. But so it's been growing kind of, word of mouth and really getting out there in a way that's so fun. And then, as you said, Kim Kardashian West, who is a podcast lover, posted it the other day on social, and so that just went bananas and was a very exciting day for us. And we have all kinds of other influencers who are doing the same, so it's been really fun. It's fun to just watch this thing grow, starting from zero in March.
What's it like working with your brother and co-founding a business with him?
Well, this is company two for my brother and I to do together, and we work really well together. So Good Shop is our other company. It's a mission-driven coupon company where when you shop, a percentage of what you spend goes to your favorite cause or to yourself. And we donated about $13 million more to causes around the country. But for this company, we also, and Kenny's very successful. He had a company that was Monster.com, biggest acquisition before that, which he had started with my mom. So we're used to family businesses. And in this company, my sister, Melanie, works with us, as does my nephew, Owen, and then a whole bunch of people who are not Rambergs as well.
What I love, and through my wills, trust, family businesses kind of lens, my day-to-day legal work, you don't always find families that work so beautifully as you guys do. So what is the secret sauce?
It really works for us. It's funny when I had my show. So I hosted this show on MSNBC for 13 years about entrepreneurship, and we had so many guests on that said you need to separate work and family, and if you're going to work together, make a rule that you're not talking about it at the Thanksgiving table about business. And we don't have any of those rules. It's all very fluid with us, but we get along really well and we respect each other a lot. And there are definite times where Ken has had an idea and I think it's a bad one, and we discuss it, and at some point I say, okay, let's just try it, or he does the same for me. But we don't, if it doesn't work, we don't hold it against each other. We're very good partners and respectful. And I think because we are family, I think what's good for me is good for you, what's good for you is good for me. We just really love each other.
It's beautiful. And what I heard come out loud and clear is love and respect. And speaking about Kim Kardashian West, she and her family have built up the Kardashian name to be what it is today. It was really, and I think Mama Chris was really the one kind of positioning it all. So family businesses can and do work.
They can, and they do. And this is the fourth one in my family. My father worked with his dad, my brother worked with my mom, and then Ken and I worked together on Good Shop, and then Ken, my sister, my nephew, and I worked together on Goodpods. And so, yeah, it works as long as we communicate, we trust each other. He's my big brother, right? When all said and done, he is my big brother.
I love it. And, I myself work with my husband to some degree. He has his own businesses and I have some of my own, but we are constantly, truly as partners, sitting at the table and discussing. And I think that adds such a layer, because when you're doing that with your family, it's vision. It's mapping out, like, where do we want to be and how do we get there together?
I think also because we work together, right? Since we started our first company, got married, I had 3 kids, he's had stuff happen in his life. And so you really have and I don't think you need to be family to do this, but we are family, a respect for what's going on in your life. So when I was having kids, right, and my life was a little bit crazy, he could step in a little bit more, and likewise when he needs something.
JJ, a lot of people want to start businesses and they want to live the so-called American dream, start with nothing, build it into something and watch it thrive. You guys did this at an interesting time looking backwards. Who would have known that March, the pandemic would hit and all these things? So what is your best advice for someone who is teetering on the edge of leaving their job, or maybe got furloughed or laid off and wants to start a business?
Well, I think you have to know, and I spent 13 years interviewing entrepreneurs, right? I at the same time as building my business, I was interviewing very successful people. And I think you just have to know that at some point you are going to fail, right? My friend Courtney, who has a company called Smarty Pants, which is really an amazing vitamin company, she said, go into it knowing that it's going to be hard sometimes. And by the way, this isn't just with work, it's with relationships, it's with whatever you do. If you go into it knowing it's going to be hard sometimes, then you're not blindsided when it's hard. Just like, oh, that's a bump in the road, and I have the personality and the ambition or the desire to get myself through this.
What I love is it's very reminiscent to me of Glennon Doyle's "You Can Do Hard Things." Like, just because it's hard, you don't throw out the baby in the bathwater. And speaking of Smarty Pants, it's very funny because I just bought her vitamins for my 2-year-olds.
Oh, they're so good. It is a great company, and those vitamins are so good.
I can't wait till she starts taking them, and hopefully that puts her to sleep more. Somehow, I hope the correlation.
Fingers crossed. I remember those days.
JJ, so take us back in time to your TV show. and
Mhm.
anchoring and speaking to different entrepreneurs day in and day out. Do you miss it?
I do miss it. I did it for 13 years, and when the show ended, I felt like that was a great run, and I am really so excited about Goodpods. We had come up with the idea before, but then I got to dive in head first. I actually did something for the BBC right after, an interesting show, but I was really excited to work on Goodpods. But to be honest with you, when the quarantine happened and the pandemic hit, and and the PPP money was so confusing. That's the loan that you could get from the government as a small business person. It was so confusing. It was a time, probably the first time since the show ended, that I really missed that show, because I felt like a family with my audience, and we were all there for each other, because running a small business is hard. And it was the hardest moment. And I wished at that moment that the show was on and we could have all been together and gotten through this together.
Wow. It's really the community. You felt like, these people are your family.
Well, I did, right? So when my show started, it was in 19, that would have been old. Gosh, it was 2006, I think. There just wasn't a lot out there now there's so many things for entrepreneurs and small business owners, and entrepreneurs are like rock stars. When we started the show, there really wasn't anything out there for them. And so we had really built up this world of, here's a place that you can go where you feel like you're not alone, and you can get tips and you can be inspired. And we had 13 years of that. So it was very much a community.
What are through the 13 years, what were some of the lessons that you found so deeply resonated with you and that you take forward to Goodpods and to all the different business endeavors that you do have?
I have so many. I actually wrote a whole book on it. Your business. It's your business. 183 tips to help your small business grow.
Check it out,
Everyone always
people.
says,
I know I will.
um, oh God, there were so many. Some big picture ones of just the obvious. Listen to your customers, right? Don't launch something and then see how people feel about it. Don't spend all your time in your room talking, or in your boardroom talking to your fellow managers and coming up with the best product and spending all your time and all your money making it perfect. Really, you need to launch something and hear what your customers or potential customers think, so that you can then grow it. I mean, that's what we did with Goodpods, right? So when we came up with the idea of Goodpods, I probably talked to 700 people, and I am not joking. I have a spreadsheet ranging from the heads of these big podcast companies, Malcolm Gladwell, down to a woman in Kansas who listens to podcasts once a week. I talked to everyone to say, what do you think of this idea? What product would you want? What features would you want? And then we launched it in beta and asked people, what do you like? What don't you like? And then we launch it for real. And still every day we ask people and see how they're using it in order to create our product roadmap going forward.
So it's truly an iterative process.
Completely. And when we launched Goodpods, we thought we're going to do A, B, C, and D. And then we talked to people and actually saw how they were using it. And we said, oh, actually, we're going to do C, F, G, and then A.
So interesting. So sometimes what we think is the number one driver is really kind of a secondary, tertiary thing.
And you won't know it until you actually put your product in people's hands. And what's interesting about somebody starting out, what's important to know is, if you go talk to your friends and say, I have this idea, here's what it is, blah, 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 they're going to tell you it's a good idea. And maybe you'll have a few friends who will be completely honest with you, but most people are just going to tell you it's a good idea because they're your friends and they want to support you. And so it's not enough to go ask people. You have to get people actually using it if you can.
Wow. Yeah, you're so right, because when is a friend going to look at you and say, not really? And even the second follow-up of, what would you pay for this? You think it's such a great idea, what would you, and then crickets, right?
hard. As a matter of fact, I just had somebody come to me today with an idea, and ask me what I thought about it. And the truth is, I didn't think it was a great idea, but I also didn't feel like I was in the position. I'm not exactly her customer. And so I could say to her, well, it's not right for me, but I can't tell her it's a bad idea. I'm not the target audience for it. It's a very unformed idea. And so now what does she do with that information, right? But you have to go get to the right people, test it in the right way, and then be very honest with yourself and be a very good listener so that you're not changing people's from when they say it to when it gets to your brain. Somehow it seems positive.
I love that. And I have right here, Shut Up and Listen from Tillman Fertitta. And he literally says, I don't care what business you're in. We're all in the business of hospitality. And you have to listen to your customer, which is exactly, JJ, what I'm hearing from you.
You do. You really do. If you don't, you're going to fail. It's just as easy as that.
So how does someone kind of put their ego in the back and truly, it's like asking someone, is my baby cute? You know what I mean? It's to that level of your business becomes your baby. So how do you detach yourself from the input and from the love of your business baby?
Because I think you just have to know if you want this to be successful, then you have to get people's feedback. It's as simple as that. It's not a reflection on you. And I mean, frankly, it is the best reflection on you if you are able to listen and take in their feedback. Doesn't mean to say you act on every single thing that somebody says, because lots of things are subjective, and one person may think something and it's just wrong, right? Or it's not wrong. It's not going to help your business grow. And so you should take pride in being the kind of person, instead of taking pride in thinking your baby's cute, take pride in thinking that your baby is growing up to have good character.
So really it's the swan. The baby is the swan. And the business might start off as an MVP and blossom into something truly amazing.
Hopefully it will, right? Or at some point, maybe you say, actually, this isn't working. And I need to either blow this up, completely change it, or get rid of it.
So how do you kill the business? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in this where they stay too long. And all of us, I mean, relationships that don't work. Listen, we stay too long because of the sunk cost, paradigm where we put so much time in. How can we now leave it? So what is your best advice for an entrepreneur who's facing that?
Again, you just have to be objective and give yourself some measurements if you can, right? Something you're going to say, if I can do this, then it's worth it. If I can't, then I need to try something else. If that doesn't work, then it's just over. And be somewhat objective about it.
Would you suggest for people that they go into business with a partner? Or do you think that from the different people you've interviewed, that going it alone tends to be more successful?
I think that's based on your own personality. I really love working with a partner. I don't know if I could do this alone. Other people I know couldn't do it with a partner. They just want to have 100% be in charge themselves.
It's so interesting because my husband, like I was telling you before, is a multiple time entrepreneur and has partners in all his business deals. And I'm very much have kind of built my own thing. And I did have a business partner in the past, and sometimes I wonder, is it really because it was the wrong fit of a partner?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it that the entrepreneur is simply kind of a lone wolf? It's a very interesting kind of thought process.
Right. Yeah, I know, just for me personally, I love having a partner.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, to be able to speak to someone and say, what do you think about this? I mean, we get caught in our own heads all the time.
We do. I think whether you have a partner or you're doing it by yourself, regardless, you should have a good set of advisors, people that you can turn to, whose opinion you trust, who you respect, who are good communicators, who you can ask questions of and will be honest with you.
What do you see as the next year, 5 years of Goodpods?
Well, we have all kinds of things we are going to be launching in Goodpods that are exciting. So we're just at the beginning of this, right? We launched it in March, and so we're seeing more and more people get on every single day. But the product itself will just get better and better. And the idea behind Goodpods is just to help people discover great shows. So there are 40 million podcast episodes out there, right? And if you are not the Daily or Joe Rogan, a lot of people haven't heard about you, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't love what you have to say. They're just too many great podcast voices that aren't getting heard right now because of just the way media works. If you don't have buckets of marketing dollars, it's hard to make it onto a top 10 list in places. And we exist so that you can surface up to the top, even if you do not have buckets of marketing dollars.
What have you found have been the common threads in podcasts that are having people who have tremendous influence actually enjoy them?
I don't think there is one, to tell you the truth.
Really?
That's what's so amazing about podcasts, right? Is that these niches, right? So I just listened. I mean, I talked to a woman the other day who has this like really nutsy sci-fi podcast that is not for the mainstream, but it is very much for her people. On Good Pods, we have all these Dungeons and Dragons lovers, right? And so they all share Dungeons and Dragons podcasts with each other. And then we have people who care about wellness. We have the ones that rise to the top on Good Pods, are, of course, the ones that everybody listens to. Again, the Daily, Up First, things like that. But they're also just these random podcasts that somebody listens to, that they pass it along to a friend, and then a friend, and then another friend, another friend. During the quarantine, somebody listened to this podcast called, I think it was called You Have to Calm Down. And the episode was literally just white noise. It was like 5 minutes of white noise. And that episode got passed friend to friend to friend to friend to friend to friend. There was also another one on organizing your closets, a small podcast. Again, also friend to friend to friend to friend to friend.
Wow. So it's very interesting. It's truly the new word of mouth. There's a podcast that's very particular to our group of friends or to what we like, and it's passing that around to that group and that circle.
Well, think about it. Like if you're at a dinner party, this happens to every dinner party I was about to say I go to, but I used to go to, and hopefully we'll go to again sometime soon.
God willing.
But you on the table and someone says, what podcast are you listening to? It's every conversation. If you look on Twitter or Facebook, or everyone's saying, what podcast are you listening to? So it's just, and someone will tell you then, and then you get back to your car or you're going for a run and you have no idea. You can't remember what they said. And even if they told you a show, you can't remember which episode you're supposed to listen to. So it is just simply making that process that happens in real life right now and making it more efficient.
Beautiful.
So I don't have to remember. Now I can just go on profile, Natalie, or to my feed and see what you're listening to.
It's like sending a referral. Here's the person you need to talk to, what you need to talk to them about. Boom, done.
It's done. It just makes it so easy. And for me, it's just expanded my listening universe, because I know that I have, one friend who knows everything about science. And so when I'm in a science mood, I'll go look at his profile because I'll get something cool that I would have never thought of before. Someone else who's really into wellness, someone else who's really into true crime. And so I get the best of all of those things in my feed by just following them.
I love it. Now, JJ, you're a mom of to 3 children. So how has that been, juggling 3 kids, a pandemic, 2 businesses? Like, where is your cape, my dear?
All of us. It's not me. We're all doing it right now. The teachers are the ones where I say to them, where's your cape? My kids are old enough that they could do school by themselves. So they are in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade right now, 4th, 5th, and 6th ladder. I also, when we were in quarantine during the spring, we quarantined with another family. So I had a sister wife, 2 sister husbands, if that's what you call. So there were 4 adults doing everything together for 5 kids, and it was amazing. I really believe in living in a commune or some sort of situation like that, because we just shared all the work and it was so much fun. And
I
so
feel like
now we're
that
back.
should be a podcast, JJ, like Podversity or something like that. I think we're onto something here.
It was really great. Now it's back to just the 5 of us. I'm like, wait, I have to do everything now. I've got to make breakfast and lunch and dinner between me and my husband. But my kids are great, and it's been kind of neat because they've really lived the launch of this company. As a matter of fact, right after when the quarantine started and Goodpods was just launching, I said to them, all right, guys, here's a fun project for the weekend. Make a commercial, like make a video commercial for Goodpods. And so they did that. They learned about marketing. They got involved in Goodpods. I got some free work.
I just love that because you're truly teaching entrepreneurship to your kids, like entrepreneurship 101, do it.
Well, that's how I got it, right? My mom started her company with my brother Ken when I was in high school. And so I was there watching from a front. We didn't talk about entrepreneurship, right, around the dinner table. I just watched it happen. I worked for them. I lived it. I saw everything that they were doing.
What I love is that it's real world experience as opposed to what you might learn at an MBA with an MBA degree or at, like people often are asking me, should I be a lawyer? And I'm like, well, why are you doing it? And do you actually understand what that means? I mean, entrepreneurship right now is cool and sexy, but the amount of work, blood, sweat, and tears that goes in, and people don't realize there's no cookie can of money coming in unless you make it so. I mean, that people need to really look in the face of what are they doing?
Right. And work doesn't end, right? It doesn't end when you go home at night.
No.
Well, no one's going home at night. We're all staying home at night, but it is constant. And so you have to really, really love it. You have to love either the product or the process or something you need to be excited about to take you through the times when things might get hard.
Absolutely. JJ, if you can leave us with the number one lesson you have learned over your amazing career, what would it be?
I think that, well, I will tell you this. This I learned from my mom. Life is long. So my mom she was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't have a paying job. She did tons of volunteer work. She raised her 4 kids. And then when she was in her mid 40s, she started a company with my brother that ended up being Monster.com's biggest acquisition ever. And this was, by the way, pre-internet. I mean, by the time she sold it, there was the internet, but it wasn't in the days where a kid just out of college and a stay-at-home mom were starting companies. Nobody did that back then. So here's someone who started her career, in essence, when she was 48 years old and was incredibly successful. So whatever we're doing now, we could be doing something entirely different 10 years from now that might be the thing that is the great success of our whole lives.
It's so beautiful. And I love that her light so illuminated your life of what she was able to do. And you're doing that same thing for your children now.
I sure hope so. Maybe they would rather a better lunch. Here, eat this. I gotta get on the call.
It reminds me of a Marie Antoinette quote, let them eat cake. It's okay. Let them eat cake. Just kidding, JJ. On the West Coast, it's all about organic, gluten-free. Let's be real. Our oat milk is, God forbid we ever drink real milk, okay? So just so that's out there in the world.
But we are not afraid. We are not afraid of mac and cheese in this household.
There you go. Annie's all day long. I love it. And JJ, it has been a true pleasure being with you. I know you have given me such wonderful things to think about. Really, I've internalized your message. And I just am so grateful to you just telling your story.
Oh, Natalie, thank you so much. It was really fun talking to you.
Too.